Welcome, parents, to another Parent Connect Livestream for the Word of Life Bible Institute. My name is Brian Tonito. I'm the Dean of Enrollment. If this is your first time watching the Parent Connect Livestream, welcome. We've been doing these monthly. If you've been following along, so far we've learned about the history of Word of Life, who we are as an organization. We've done the application process for admission. And tonight we get to talk about one of my favorite topics, financial aid. And we're joined by my friend and Director of Financial Aid, Mr. Alex Hackett.
Thank you, Brian.
Alex, I'm glad you're here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about financial aid is people kind of get a little nervous when we talk about finances. And what I love about financial aid, and I know you talk about this a lot, is we're not here to take money. We're here to give money.
That's the joy. The business office, they work on setting up payment plans. They like to take your money. Financial aid, we like to give money. And so, anytime finances are mentioned, blood pressure ticks up that little bit more, but that's what we're here for. We're here to, us and the enrollment team, your admissions advisor, we're here to walk through the financial aid process with you guys, and so excited to talk through that.
Yeah, so parents, I hope that you buckle in. We're going to answer a lot of questions tonight. Don't forget, if this is your first time joining us or if you've been with us before, at the end of the session here, we're going to transition into a live Q&A with you. And so we know when we talk about finances, it's everybody's situation's unique. And so when we talk through all these, we're going to hit a broad stroke tonight. This is your chance to ask some specific questions. And we'd love to help you as best we can. And what we'll do too is as we talk tonight, there's going to be slides up on the screen. Feel free to take pictures. Feel free to look up some of the links and things that we're going to talk about. But we're just going to have a great time. We're going to kind of dive right in, if you're ready, Alex.
Yeah.
And start talking about what does it cost to come to the Bible Institute. So we're going to get that first slide up there. And Alex, tell us about this. What does it cost to come?
Yeah, so I say this is the $1 million question, right? But in reality, it's the $23,000 question. So the cost of attendance for the Bible Institute, both New York and Florida, as you'll see at the top of the slide there, is $23,000. And so we've got some highlights listed up there on the slide. But one thing to note, if you are looking at cost of attendance on different colleges' websites, you'll find that what they include most of the time is just tuition and fees. Schools don't typically include housing and food in their cost of attendance just because there's different circumstances. But for Word of Life, $23,000 includes tuition, fees, all of your meals, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, and your housing. And so that includes also within the fees, the Logos Bible package, which I know you're really excited about being able to provide with some of our students, but that's going to include about 80% of textbooks as well.
What's not included in there is a car registration, which is about $25, laundry, which I tell students, we're really big on discipleship here, and you get really to know the staff. Find a staff member. I have students at my house all the time doing laundry, and you'll pay, again, about approximately $40 worth of textbooks out of pocket besides what's included, which for me is crazy. I had one textbook alone cost me $250. And so we're talking all your books except for one $40 book. That's a big deal. And I love to tell parents too, this price here is the price for both the New York and the Florida campus. And so you will not pay more than this. It will only go down from here.
Yeah.
So if you ever get something and you get confused, and we'll talk about this later, why it might say more, you are not going to be billed more than this amount. In fact, how many students receive financial aid?
Yeah, so this last award year, 100% of students receive some form of financial aid. So 100% of students did not pay the full sticker cost of the $23,000. And that's really what we're all about here tonight, right? To talk about what options there are available to lower and chip away at that $23,000 number.
And so, parents, don't forget, as we walk through any of this, please put questions down there. We've got some questions that parents typically ask we're going to go over, but we're going to move quickly through this, and it's a lot of info. So if I'm talking too fast or you got a question, put it down there in the chat. We would love to connect with you as we walk through this. So the first really, as we go to the next slide, what we're going to transition into, before we start talking about all the different ways we could get aid, it's important to understand how do you get a scholarship package from Word of Life. And every college has its own unique terms for what this is. What do we call a scholarship package? How do you get one? What do we do, Alex?
Yeah, so there's two real documents, and really we've got two separate sections of students. So shout out to any of our international families checking in with us. So for U.S. citizens, two documents that we need. One is going to be the FAFSA, which we'll get into the federal aid here in a second. And as you see on the slide, that can be found at studentaid.gov. So that's one, and then the second is our Word of Life scholarship application. And so there's a short link up there on our scholarships page. We've got the link to the scholarship application as well. So the FAFSA is going to allow us to be able to look at what federal aid you could qualify for, and then the scholarship application is going to help look at what Word of Life scholarships you could qualify for. Yep. And then for the second bullet point, for our international families, you have a specific scholarship application with a short link of the wol.is/IGSA. So both of those, once we get both of those documents, then we put together your initial college financing plan. And up on the screen, you've got a little screenshot of what that college financing plan looks like. I always say that this is the conversation starter. Yes. This should be the trigger then to set up a call with your admissions advisor and talk through what are some additional scholarship opportunities that I could qualify for.
And I would say, Alex, this is probably the thing that's the most confusing for parents, because the college financing plan is not your bill.
Yep.
The college financing plan that you're going to get is really showing you what scholarships you have available. And if you are a U.S. citizen, it's showing you also things like our indirect costs, things that the government requires us to put down that are not a part of your bill, that you're not getting charged for, that we would say, oh, you might have to pay this much to travel back and forth, or you might have to pay this much in school supplies. Nothing billed from Word of Life, but the government wants us to include that. Yep. And so parents get confused because that amount looks more than $23,000. Yeah. I also want to encourage our international families, if you haven't watched the application process, if you go back and watch that video, you actually have a lot of documents that go into making your financial aid package. And this is just kind of the last real piece of it. And so I want to make sure that you know all of those pieces before you get to this step. Yeah. So you should watch that video first, then come back to this one and be prepared to talk about making that financial aid package. So we can keep going, and we're going to talk specifically now to our U.S. citizens.
Yep.
And talk about what aid do we get from the government. Walk us through what do we have to offer for students.
Yeah, so it all starts with the FAFSA. So FAFSA is an acronym, Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And Brian, want to highlight the first letter of that acronym.
Amen.
Free.
Free.
Right?
And if it's free, it's for me, Alex.
Amen. Amen. If you're on a site, there are a lot of scams out there. If you're on a site and they ask for your credit card information, run the opposite direction. So studentaid.gov, that is a government link. And so what that is going to do is unlock grants and loans from the FAFSA. We'll get into the VA benefits here in just a little bit. That's also on the slides. But with grants, those are the two biggest things that the FAFSA will allow schools to be able to discern what students qualify for.
So tell me a little bit about, we have the free application for federal student aid. You mentioned maybe there's some misunderstanding that parents might have. What are some things that maybe you've heard, that some fears that parents might have around the FAFSA?
Yeah.
What have you heard that might have been maybe just, I'm worried about this. Is it hitting my credit? Some things you've heard that aren't true.
Yeah, so one of the big ones is you alluded to the credit. This is going to affect my credit score, or they're going to ask for information that is way too personal for me, or this is going to commit me to contributing X dollar amount to my student's education. And all of those are not accurate. So the FAFSA, under the Department of Education umbrella, actually partners with the IRS to feed some of your tax information over into the FAFSA. So it's information that the government's already got. Yeah. You're not giving any additional pieces in there. It's not a credit check. And then it's also not you committing to contributing anything to your student's education. Yeah. In fact, it's just equipping them to hopefully get some federal aid from the government there.
And I think one thing that's really important that I hear parents say a lot is, do I get money from the FAFSA? You get money, the money from the government comes to the school, and then that gets distributed to your student. So the government's not handing you money directly. And really, at the end of the day, it's just the Department of Ed wants you to give the IRS permission to see some of that information. Would you talk us through what information are they looking at? And what are they trying to get at the end of the FAFSA? What are they trying to do?
Yeah, so the FAFSA, the calculations go off of tax year from 2 years prior. So for the 25-26 award year, it's going to go off of your tax information from 2023. And so there are some circumstances that, that opens up. Okay, say in 2023 I was making X amount, I was working, but this year I lost my job. Or, medical expenses were just out of this world. Context change, right? Circumstances change, and the government understands that. And so they give the financial aid administrators some flexibility to dig into that. And so if that is your family and you have some extenuating circumstances that maybe the 2023 tax year isn't a good picture of what your circumstances are, reach out to your admissions advisor, reach out to myself, and again, we would love to serve you and walk through the professional judgment is what it's called, the professional judgment process, with the end goal of getting more grant funds from the government.
And at the end of the day, what the government does with the FAFSA, it's used to calculate how much free money you're going to get the grants and what type of loan your student qualifies for. And so if you are familiar with the old FAFSA, because the government has changed the process as of last year. If you've sent multiple kids to colleges or you filled out the FAFSA, the old FAFSA was all about getting one number, and that was called your estimated family contribution. And that was the magic number for schools and for parents and students that would say, if I have X number, I'm going to qualify for this much aid. Now, the government's changed things around and actually made it simpler, but it's not just anymore about one single number, right? Now the government is trying to get, when you fill out the FAFSA, it puts you into what's called a student aid index, and they also look at your income, assets, all of that. So there's two main factors that they use to determine how much grants and what types of loans you receive. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so just to allude to that a bit more, the aggregate gross income, with the FAFSA, they look at the family nucleus, how many are in the immediate family, are both parents in the picture, or is it just a single parent? And so basically what they'll do is they'll take your income and match it up with the federal poverty guidelines, and that they use to determine some of the grant eligibility there.
So if you've got questions, you're like, I'm not sure what I qualify for, how do I figure that out? Guess what? We can help. We can help you. We can help put together some estimates for you if you don't want to apply yet. We can help point you in the right direction. So if you're like, I'm not going to remember all that, Brian, that's okay. We are here to help you. Now, let's transition. So we've done that. Just think, I'm a FAFSA family. I've done it. What do I get? How much grant money can I get? How, do I qualify for a loan? What do I get?
Yeah, so the two things up there, grants and loans. So the biggest grant is the federal Pell Grant, and the maximum Pell Grant is $7,395 for the 24-25 award year. We won't know the max for 25-26 for sure until around February. They announced that. So that's the max. You can get up to that amount. Some families get none, some get the max. It just depends on, again, your family circumstances. But then every single student that applies for FAFSA gets offered loans. And so for a dependent student, they're offered up to $5,500 of loans. And that can be split between one of two different ways. So $5,500 in total, but based on that FAFSA information, part of that $5,500 could be a subsidized loan, which effectively that loan doesn't accrue interest while the student is in school. The unsubsidized portion does accrue interest while the student is in school. So the grants, you think of free money, that's what we want, and then loans are there as aid should you need to use those. Again, it's a great option for families who need it. And then if you're an independent student, typically 24 years of age or older, you'll have a little bit more loan opportunities offered from the government.
You brought up a good point there, Alex, about independent students. I think I have parents ask me all the time, my kid is working full time. Or my student is, I want my student to do it all on their own. Can they be independent? What does the government, who did they say counts as an independent student? They don't have to put their parents' information in.
Yeah, so culturally we say typically 18 years and you're independent at that point. But for the Department of Education, for FAFSA, that number is 24.
Yep.
And so if you are under the age of 24 and you are not married, you are considered dependent.
Yes.
Now again, there are some extenuating circumstances which could qualify under that professional judgment umbrella. But 9 times out of 10, if you are under the age of 24, not married, you are a dependent student.
Yeah. I also want to come back and just finalize one more thing with loans. As I was thinking about this, for students, they get, what's the amount?
$5,500 for a dependent student.
For a freshman in college.
Yeah, yep.
And if they are sophomore, it goes up?
Yep, it increases by $1,000 each year.
Yep. Now, what if I'm a parent and I want to take out a loan? Is that available to me? Is that a part of the FAFSA? What is that?
Yeah, great question. So there is the option for parents to be borrowers. That is a Parent Plus loan. Now, a couple of differences between the federal direct loans to the student and the Parent Plus loan. The federal direct loan to the student does not require a cosigner. It does not require a credit check, anything of that sort. The Parent Plus loan does require a credit check, and so sometimes, it's depending on the circumstances, families might need to get a cosigner for the Plus loan. But what that's going to do is, again, the parent is the borrower, and they can borrow up to the cost of attendance for the year. So while the students only get a limited amount of funds offered to them, the parents taking the Plus loan can borrow as much as they need to cover their students' tuition.
That's great. So tell me, as we kind of wrap up the government section, I do want to say really quick, Alex and I just talked a lot about loans.
Yeah.
I want to be kind of clear from our end, because I hear parents say a lot when we talk about this, are you telling me I have to get a loan? I don't want to get a loan. We are not advising you one way or the other whether you should or should not get a loan. We just want you to be armed with the right information so that you can make a wise decision. And so as you hear us talk about loans, we want to know everything about it to be the experts on it, not to be telling you what you should be doing. So please don't hear that from our office that we're telling you you have to take a loan, or we're telling you don't do that. We're just trying to arm you with the best knowledge. As we wrap up the government section, really, I wanted to talk about VA benefits. It's not a part of FAFSA, but it is something that U.S. citizens do uniquely have access to if your family has been in the military. Talk us through that a little bit. Yeah,
so with Veterans Affairs benefits there, if you're a father, sometimes circumstances will allow for grandparents. It just depends, again, on your specific family. We would encourage you to check with your specific VA office. So there's 2 different broad categories of VA benefits. One will be paid directly to the student. Typically that will cover things like housing and meals. But again, that goes directly to the students. The other side will go towards tuition, and that gets sent directly to the schools. And so it would be up to you and your family to check with your VA office as to which you qualify for, how much aid, and then ask them. They'll tell you what you need to give to the school in order to get that ball rolling. Typically, we ask for a letter of certificate, and we coordinate with the VA to get those funds in-house.
I think the biggest thing to take away there is, if you want to know about your VA benefits, you need to be talking to the VA. If they send us money, we will take it. It's more about you need to be connecting with the VA office and making sure the paperwork and everything is in order. As we finalize the federal aid section, I do want to remind U.S. citizens, you do need to either do the FAFSA, complete the application, or give us a waiver. So you have to do one of those 2 things because we are a federally funded school. And here's the thing too, you might say, Brian, I know I'm not going to get any aid. That's okay. If you know, like my family makes it, we have a high income, we're not going to get any grants and we don't want loans, that's fine. All of our other scholarships are going to take into account the numbers that we get from the government as well. So that's why we ask people to fill it out, not just that we want you to do it. So if you know, hey, I don't want to do that, you do need to submit a waiver.
Yeah.
So you've got to do one or the other, complete the FAFSA or a waiver if you are a U.S. citizen. So let's move on, as we kind of keep talking about citizenship, to state aid, and talk a little bit about what states send us aid and how does that work out? How did they get it?
Yeah, so as we get to this slide here, we've got 3 of the most common state grants that we receive at Word of Life. And really of those 3, the 2 most prominent are the Vermont State Grant and the Florida Bright Futures. The Florida Bright Futures, you have to be a Florida resident going to our Florida campus in order to qualify. Similar to the VA benefits, you would just need to check with your specific state and then coordinate with them on sending to us at Word of Life. As Brian said, we're not going to discriminate as to what states send. So while these are the 3 most common, they are by no means the only 3. I'd encourage you to check with your guidance counselor if you go to a public school or go to your state-specific government website to see what qualifies.
Yeah.
But if you have questions or need help digging, we're here to serve you. Reach out to your advisor, reach out to myself, and we'd love to do some of that digging with you to see if you'd qualify.
And that's, I can't iterate enough. People always ask us, do you accept these funds? And really, it's more not about whether we'll take the funds, it's more about, do we meet the criteria for the state or some of these other programs? Do we meet their criteria as a college to be on the receiving end? So we're going to move away from government aid, and we're going to start talking about scholarships that apply to everyone. Yeah. As I do that, I just want to remind everyone, wow, we just covered a lot of ground. And so if you've got questions, put them in the chat. If anything we said was confusing or we went too fast, make sure you put the questions down in the bottom so that we can talk about it at the end. Now, let's transition to talking about scholarships, because this is fun. This is where, now, we've been talking about what the government's going to do, what your state might do. This is where it says, this is what Word of Life does. And we don't have time to go through all of them because there's a lot. Yeah. But why don't you start by telling us, what can they get for scholarships? What's available here as we kind of handpick which ones we're going to talk about?
Yeah, so for Word of Life, I mentioned the scholarship application. So that's going to help us to initially package some of the Word of Life scholarships. We will offer up to $8,000 of Word of Life scholarships, and that's discounts taken directly off of your bill. And so that can be made up of any number of scholarships. Again, up to all of our scholarships are listed on our website, so you see the link up there. We also have our financial aid brochure. We do have a few scholarships that don't fall under the cap, and in the description, it specifies that it does not fall under the cap. And so really, I will kind of talk through 4 during tonight. And if you have questions about specific others, drop it in the chat. Reach out to your advisor again. But why don't you kick us off, Brian, and start us talking about the early confirmation scholarship. If I want to get that, how do I go about getting that?
Yeah, and I know you might see there's no amounts on here. In the description of our video tonight, you should see a link for the financial aid brochure and to the scholarship webpage. And so those are available. You can follow along, check out the amounts, but we're only going to be able to talk about 4. So really the first one is our confirmation scholarship, which is a huge deal because if you are going to be a student at the Bible Institute, you need to confirm. And so what that means is every student, once they've been admitted, you have an opportunity to tell us, hey, I'm committing to Word of Life, and you pay what's called the $250 confirmation fee. I talked about this at our last Parent Connect Livestream, but with the confirmation fee, it's $250, and it comes off of that $23,000, so it's, again, not extra. Yep. And along with that $250, whenever you make that payment, we have a scholarship that goes along with it. Now, we've just passed the first deadline for this year for the $1,000 scholarship. So we have 2 more deadlines, actually, one in February and one in May. And if you are admitted, if your student's admitted, and you want to pay the confirmation fee by those dates, you will receive, in February, you're going to receive $500, and in May, $250. So you can see that's a big jump.
Yep.
And we're doing that for a reason, because we want to be encouraging you to be getting as much as possible out of the scholarship and to help you secure your spot. Here's the thing, with that confirmation fee, you get 2 things. You get that scholarship, So if you get that $500 right now before February, it's like you made a $750 payment, which is great. And then you also get to secure your spot for housing in front of anyone else who confirms after you. So when our student life department is putting together rooms and room requests and all of that, they're going, who confirmed in what dates? And they're picking that out and going, this person confirmed in February. This person confirmed in May. I'm going to give this person their request first. So it secures your housing, gets you that scholarship. It's one of our biggest opportunities and easiest ones. Yeah. So everyone's got to do it. You're going to pay that $250 at any point anyways. So it's good to just go ahead and get it done.
If you know you're going to come, confirm by February to get that extra $250.
It's also, parents, if you're going, my son's not sure yet, or my daughter's not sure yet, that's okay. Colleges, today the stats say that students deposit or place a fee down at 3 to 4 schools on average. And that's okay. That's okay with us. Guess what? It's refundable up until May 1st. So up until May 1st, you could get the money back, but if you wait until May, you're gonna miss out on that extra $250 and your housing is gonna be looked at way late. So we encourage you to get that done early, soon, take advantage of it.
Yeah, and so I'll kind of move forward with talking about our academic scholarship here. So this potentially is one of our largest scholarships. It's anywhere from $500 to $3,000. Now, there's 2 factors that come into play with the academic scholarship. That's going to be a student's final official transcripts. So if you graduate high school with a GPA of over 3.0, you qualify for an academic scholarship. Now, the second factor is going to be standardized testing scores. And now you're going to immediately jump. I know, well, I thought they weren't required for admission. And you're right, they are not required for admission, but they are required for the academic scholarship. And so we accept 3 standardized tests, the SAT and ACT, which you're probably pretty familiar with. But then the third one, maybe you're saying, I've got a great student who is great in the classroom, 4.0, but I just struggle taking tests. Well, where we have an opportunity is maybe that CLT test. So that's the third standardized test. And that test allows some flexibility for students that maybe want to take the test in the comfort of their own home. And so if that is you, I'd encourage you to look at that as a resource, just because the amount that you put into the test, for even the lowest part of $500, that's a great investment. And you can get up to $3,000 for that.
And so with two more we're going to talk about. The next one is going to be summer ministry. And so what we mean by that is Word of Life has a summer camp. If you remember in our first Parent Connect Livestream, we're doing stuff all year round. And a part of your student's school year is to serve at one of our summer camps. To take advantage of this before you arrive, we have 2 main opportunities. And that is what we call Camp Crew and Student Fusion. And Camp Crew is where you can come to one of our camps here in the States. And this is for U.S. citizens. We'll talk about internationals in a second. For U.S. citizens, you come to the States and you serve 9 weeks over the summer working in some area of camp. It could be with the boats. It could be on the grounds. It could be with the kitchen. And not only do you get practical job experience, you get discipled by a Bible Institute student, and you're going to get a scholarship. If you do this the summer after junior year, you're going to get $1,500. And if you do it the summer after senior year, you're going to get $2,500. If you do both, you get a total of $4,000. So that's a great way to grow spiritually, be challenged, and get a scholarship. At the same time, maybe you say, I don't have 9 weeks to give, or my family, we do something over summer, I can't commit. That's okay. We have another way for you to get that same scholarship, and that's through Student Fusion. And Student Fusion is our short-term mission trips for teens. And so we've got 7 trips that you can look up if you just search studentfusion.wol.org, studentfusion.wl.org. You will look at all the trips, how much they cost, and you're going to support raise. The applications are open until March. So you're going to support raise. You're going to go on a short-term mission trip where you personally will be challenged to share the gospel. So you as your student will be pushed out there and share their faith with someone else in a foreign country. And if they do it the same times, the summer after their junior year, they get the $1,500, and the summer after their senior year, they get the $2,500 for a total of $4,000. And that is a smaller commitment over the summer. It's about a little over 2 weeks time commitment. So instead of 9 weeks, you still get the same scholarship, but there's more to it than just coming and serving. So those are the two main summer ministry opportunities. And I'm excited that we've also updated this for international. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for our international families that maybe don't have the opportunity to serve during the summer here in the States, if you serve or you are in a country that has a Word of Life ministry, if you serve a combination of 6 weeks over 2 years, so over your junior and senior year, you qualify for a $2,500 international summer ministry scholarship. And so sometimes that looks like camps. Other countries, they invest heavily in open air evangelism. Maybe it's Bible clubs. What we're looking for there is a letter from your field director just confirming you served the 6 weeks over the course of 2 years. You will qualify for that $2,500 scholarship.
And Word of Life's in over 81 countries. Yeah. So even if you don't have a direct Word of Life, I'm sure there's one near you. And I want to make this clear, international students, you cannot come to the States and do Camp Crew here and receive the scholarship on your F1 visa. It's not a part of the F1 program, and we cannot, that the government would see that as us paying you, and that is not allowed on your student visa. So the way for internationals to take advantage of this is to find that Word of Life that's near them and serve those 6 weeks over 2 years. Yep. So, Alex, why don't you just talk about the last scholarship?
Yeah, so this is going to actually also be a good segue into our next slide. But before we get to that next slide, I want to talk through the church matching scholarship. And so the church matching scholarship works like this. If a church contributes towards your student's education, Word of Life will match up to $1,000 that the church gives. And so it's a beauty of that is the church portion does not fall under that $8,000 cap. So that goes above and beyond. And you might be thinking, my church is too small, or my church won't do something like this. My encouragement to you would be to have those conversations. You will be surprised because oftentimes churches will want to partner with you or your student in building a foundation and spending a year in God's Word, learning who God is, His character, and again, Word of Life will match up to $1,000. Have those conversations. And so as we move to the next slide with some external scholarships, I always give the analogy of a forest full of fruit trees. Yeah. They are out there. You just have to do the work of shaking those trees to see what kind of fruit comes down. Yeah. And so we've got some links at the bottom of the slide that are by no means the only resources out there. They're really just a few that to get you kick-started. Students, if you spend 1 hour a week from now until you go to school or even after you start school and you get a small $500 scholarship, you just earn $500 for that hour work. And not too many lines of jobs will pay you $500 an hour.
So I want to mention about the links and things like that, parents and students. This is not a broad endorsement of anything you might find on those websites. And I want to encourage you, scholarship applications should not be asking you for any financial information. If they're asking you for credit card information or bank information, I would turn around and go the other direction. So I just want you to hear that from us so that you don't, we don't want you to fall into any traps. Be wary. There are people out there that know that people are looking for scholarships. So don't get taken advantage of. When it comes to these, we've got 3 areas: local, major specific, and unique personal. And these are kind of the ways I tell parents to look. Just for instance, I love talking about the unique personal one, right? Because the unique personal one, there are scholarships out there for people with left hands, you know, that are left-handed. There
Only
are
ones in their right mind.
That's right. There are people out there for scholarships for people with red hair. There are literally scholarships for anything. The problem is it might say something like the Hackett Foundation. And it doesn't necessarily tell you that that's a scholarship for, people with red hair and left hands, like left-handed. That's not how it works. So you've got to do a little bit of digging. You want to know, I love the unique personal one because if you know things about yourself and about your family, your history, those can be the easiest ones to qualify for. So things like my mom is a direct descendant of somebody who fought in the Revolutionary War. And because they fought in the Revolutionary War, I qualify for a Sons of the American Revolution scholarship. So that's something I qualify for. And it's really important when you're doing stuff like that to have documentation. Like my family has done hired a private investigator, has the full documents that can prove that, right? On the other side, my dad is a Filipino immigrant here in America. And because he immigrated here, I also qualify for a first-generation Filipino scholarship. So those are unique things to me, right? And if I know that you have unique things about you. So try and think through those things. Talk to your family members. Try and find something that's unique and look for those scholarships. Those are a plethora of them are out there.
Yeah, I went to high school. I went to prom with a guy who made a suit made out of duct tape.
Yep.
Why would you do that? Well, it's because the company Duct Tape gave him a scholarship for going to prom with a suit made out of duct tape.
Wow.
There's some wild things out there. You just have to do the work to do the digging.
Yes. I cannot emphasize enough that the people who don't get the scholarships are just the people that don't do enough and aren't diligent. And I would encourage you to be wary of always trying to find that big fish. Everyone's looking for that $10,000, $20,000 scholarship. If you stack up enough of those little ones, it's going to turn out well, you know? So anything else about these types of scholarships? You know, I know, like, for instance, I used to work at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is going to give you some scholarships. What do you recommend for maybe homeschoolers? You know, what should they do?
Yeah, the biggest thing is again, having the conversations. Asking if you know that there is a company that is based in your hometown, talk with them. You know, there might be some scholarships in here specifically on these sites for internationals. Again, you just have to filter out. A lot of these search engines or these scholarship engines have the ability to filter out on different criteria. Utilize those tools, but again, just take the time, do the digging.
Well, parents, we blew through a lot of information in about 40 minutes. And I'm sure that you've got some questions. I know that this is not new to us. So we've got questions that parents typically ask us. So if you've got questions, now's the time. We're going to take a 10-second break, 10 seconds. We're going to put a slide up there, 10 seconds, and we're going to transition into the question and answer time. So parents, get your fingers out, type some questions, put it in the chat, and we will see you back in 10 seconds. All right, parents, welcome back. We're going to work through some questions that we've had from parents that we typically get and try and make sure we just hit it all tonight while you're here to make sure that you feel like confident walking away from this. So, number one, here's a question that we get often. Are there any opportunities to work on campus?
Yeah, so this alludes to, just jumping back to the federal aid, this is one that we missed. So under that federal aid umbrella for FAFSA, Word of Life is a school that participates in the federal work-study program. Now with that, not everyone qualifies, so based on your FAFSA information will determine if you qualify. But if you do, you can work up to typically 6 weeks of the minimum wage in the state. So here in New York, it is $15 an hour. In Florida, I believe it's around $13.20, somewhere around there for the minimum wage. So again, up to 40 hours a week. Minimum wage serving in different capacities. Here in New York, we partner with a local public school to provide tutors. And so our tutors get paid to go out and minister to kiddos and help them with their studies. Our Florida campus, they help typically from the time that camp ends until the start of the school year, just preparing campus, getting it up to speed there. But, you know, with Florida, specifically. So with New York, that's typically the only opportunities for work on campus. But our Florida campus, because there's a conference center, you know, Brian, maybe you want to talk about this a little bit more, having attended the Bible Institute in Florida there.
Yeah, so during the conference season, sometimes they give you opportunities to work as wait staff and things like that. I would say generally for students, the work opportunities on campus, we have every student works what's called a service assignment, and as they work a service assignment, their schedule is pretty full. So I tell students, like I know someone here who works at one of the local cafes, a current student. The problem is about the way they do that is the student's schedule is varied and full, and so you've got to just find an employer that is willing to work around some of those hours. Yeah. So there's no job specifically on campus. Yeah. You could work off campus, other than work study, obviously we just talked about, but that's mainly that. Now, we do have a question from a parent, Alex. I want to make sure we get to that really quick. That says, to clarify, in order to qualify for an academic scholarship, a student needs to have both the 3.0 or higher GPA.
Both and situation, not a both or. It is both and a GPA of 3.0 or higher and a high test score. And so if you look on our website, we have a little grid where there's an intersection of different test scores for the different tests that match up with the specific award level. Again, based on the test scores, it'll be around between $500 and $3,000.
And for parents who maybe you've sent kids here multiple years, in the past, we have had it be just your GPA. The reason we made that adjustment was during COVID.
Yeah.
Because testing was not available. And so we made that adjustment back now that the world has adjusted back from COVID. So if you've had a student come before and they go, well, I didn't have to turn in a test score, that is why. So it's mainly when it started was GPA and test score. We took a pause because of COVID, and now it's back to test score and GPA. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that you guys go, it feels like maybe I'm getting inconsistent messaging. That is why there's been a change if you know of something different. So let's keep going. I've got a couple more questions that we typically get from parents. Here's one. Do Word of Life scholarships, so the scholarships we have, do they transfer to other schools or do they get a scholarship? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. One we get kind of frequently. Sometimes I'll get calls from other schools, from families who are trying to use a Word of Life scholarship at their school. These are Word of Life specific scholarships to come to Word of Life. So they're basically institutional discounts for Word of Life. Mm-hmm. And so Word of Life scholarships do not transfer to other schools. However, if students attended the Bible Institute first and then transfer to another school, we do have partner schools that offer transfer scholarships just for coming to the Bible Institute first.
Yeah, that's right. And the transfer schools, it changes a little bit every year. And these are the schools are asking us, hey, we want to have a relationship with you. So it's not something that necessarily Word of Life is hunting down. Those schools approach us and say, we want your students. Here's what we want to do.
Yeah, I always talk about, we went back to that 23,000 cost of attendance number, and oftentimes you'll find that is lower than other schools. Yep. And so you have the tendency to want to say Word of Life is cheap. But I don't like the word cheap. I like the word value. Yeah. We are a great value where you get top tier education at a low cost, and the way that we add value is with these schools. Yeah. The schools see the value of the students that Word of Life produces, and they want to offer those scholarships. Some offer up to $17,500 just for coming to the Bible Institute first.
And and the schools are pretty serious about it. They let me know when they feel like, why aren't we getting as many students from you? Yeah. Tell us. They come and compete for our students. Excuse me. So parents, don't forget, you can still put questions down in the chat. I've got a few more, but don't forget you can put your own personal questions down in there. So here's a good one. If I serve at a different camp, like not a Word of Life camp, can I still get the summer ministry scholarship?
Yeah, great question. And unfortunately, it does not qualify for that summer ministry scholarship. The summer ministry is exclusive for the Word of Life camps. Now there may be opportunities to serve, where maybe you want to have the conversation with your camp, and maybe they will offer you a scholarship to come spend a year at the Bible Institute and then come back. But that is specifically and exclusively for Word of Life camps here in the States or for our international families at our international locations.
That's really good. And I know, again, there are multiple ways. So maybe you could go serve at that camp and do student fusion, since it's such a small time commitment. So just talk to your camp and see what you could do. Here's another question. I sent my FAFSA application to another school. will that be a problem in getting it to Word of Life?
Yeah, great question, and there is not. So I think on the initial application, students can send up to 6 schools their FAFSA information. So if you sent it originally to another school, and now you're considering Word of Life, you can just log back into your studentaid.gov account with your credentials, and then you can go to the 2526 form, edit that, and under schools, just plug Word of Life in. Now, one thing to note there, for if you're intending to go to the Florida location, there is only the New York location on the FAFSA. They are one and the same.
Yes.
So since New York is the flagship, that's the one listed, and our accreditation with the federal government is through New York. That's the one listed. So if you're going to our Florida campus, plug the New York location in, and it'll get sent to the same place.
Yep. So it's the same school code, same everything when people ask us. So that's a huge opportunity, and it saves time, so it's less confusing. So another question we have here is about the alumni scholarship, the difference between the encouragement award and the next generation award.
Yeah.
So would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So just to explain what those two are. So the Next Generation Scholarship, that is for direct descendants and direct dependents of alumni. So if you have a grandparent, a parent, or a sibling that came to the Bible Institute, you qualify for the Next Generation Scholarship of $1,000.
That's right.
And so how you get that, on that scholarship application, it's going to ask you if you had grandparent, parent, or sibling come to the Bible Institute. It'll ask for their name, year of graduation. We'll verify and then add the $1,000.
Yep.
The Alumni Encouragement Award is a little bit different.
Yep.
And so that is for alumni out there who want to bless a student that they know that is applying with $750. Now, I get the question often, is that the alumni paying $750? It is not. So they have a certificate. If you don't have it, you can go to our scholarships page, and it is hyperlinked in there. Just print it off, plug in the student's name that you want to encourage to come to the Bible Institute, and then they send it to finaid at wol.org, our financial aid inbox, and we apply that $750 scholarship. With that, the two are not stackable.
Yep.
So you can't have dad, who came to the Bible Institute, give you the Next Generation Award and the encouragement certificate. Just
for
because,
alumni.
Yes.
So something I wanted to clarify in that answer is we have, if you are looking at the financial aid brochure, you'll notice underneath the encouragement awards, there are multiple types of encouragement awards. So there's a staff encouragement award, an alumni encouragement award, a pastor encouragement award. If you have the Alumni Next Generation Award, you cannot stack it with an Alumni Encouragement Award. However, you could stack the Alumni Next Generation Award with a Pastor Encouragement Award or a Staff Encouragement Award. So you can still have opportunity to get that $750. You just won't be able to get it from the Alumni Specific Encouragement Award.
Yeah, that's good. And we get the question often, you know, if I'm an alumni, do I only have a limited amount of encouragement certificates to hand out? And the answer to that is there is no limit.
Absolutely not. Hand it out, alumni, to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Okay? That's your opportunity to bless someone. Say, I can give you $750 to the Bible Institute. So feel free to hand that out as much as you can. As we kind of wrap up here, I feel like we've gone over a lot.
Yeah.
I wanted to encourage parents and let you guys know our heart here at Word of Life is to do everything we can to help make this a reality for you. And we work really hard. Alex does. Alex works really hard with our financial aid team. Our advisors do. Our advancement team. We have a lot of opportunity for you to make this work and happen. And I tell families a lot of times when they say finances are the reason they can't come, I feel like they haven't really truly talked to us and been willing to do what's necessary. Because if you do, most often it's going to be possible. And so I just want to encourage you, parents, students, talk to your advisor, set up a financial aid chat with him. Alex and the team with financial aid do a great job training your advisors So your advisors are professionals in financial aid. They are trained on the government aid, the international aid. They are there to help you every step of the way. And so please make sure you're connecting with them. Don't miss out on that opportunity. Don't just go, well, I can't afford it when you're doing the calculations on your own.
Yeah.
Reach out to your advisor. They can help you. And I just want to put you at ease, parents, that we're here to help you.
And I always say your admissions advisor is your biggest advocate.
Yeah, that's
you know, if you're needing to get to a certain spot, be vulnerable and have the conversation with them. And you will be surprised to see how the Lord provides for your students' education.
In fact, the advisors, sometimes we're telling the advisors to relax. They almost take as much ownership of it as you guys do, and trying to say, what else can I do for this student? And so we love that. They're there to help you. They're your advocate advisor to help you come into the Bible Institute. So that's been a lot of information, parents. I hope you stuck with it. If you're watching this, whether recorded or live, I just want to say thank you for considering the Bible Institute. We hope that this process is easy and simple. I just want to say thank you guys for watching. As we get ready to close, I did see we have one more question. I want to make sure because we've got a little bit of time. I saw we have one more question. Julia, would you have that question really quick pulled up? Perfect. So here's what it says. It says, how and when will we know if our student has been awarded a scholarship? A Word of Life missionary, but not a youth Word of Life missionary, offered my son a leadership scholarship, and we don't know if that will be accepted. Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. And this kind of plugs in a couple of different layers of questions. And so here is the overall question. How will we know if our son has been awarded a scholarship? Every single time an award is added to your student's account, financial aid offices are required to send an updated college financing plan. And your student, when they are confirmed, will get their own Word of Life system, like credentials. So you'll log into your own financial aid portal, which will have all of the information up to date. So if you get that certificate from I'm assuming it is your local church missionary or your area missionary, and they send it in, we'll add it, and it'll get added to your package. You'll get a new email with your new college financing plan with it on there. And so that's how you'll know when it is added. And if you ever have questions, again, ever have any questions whatsoever, know that your admissions advisor is your go-to there.
Could we get the slide up, the slide back up, maybe our second slide that's got the college financing plan? I just want you to just get one more picture of it, mom and dad, whoever's asking this question. This is that thing that anytime it gets updated, Alex is going to send you a new one of these.
Yeah.
And you might go, I thought I already got my package. This is the government, the system we use with the government prints this out, and it's going to say the same thing just with the updated scholarships. And if you want to know where to access the digital version of this, like he mentioned, the financial aid portal, all of this is on your application portal. So when you log into wol.is//apply, that website where you log in, if you've done your whole application, will have your Word of Life credentials, so your Word of Life email, Word of Life password. And as you scroll down, I talked about this on our last live stream, it will have links to not just our scholarships, but also the financial aid portal where you can log in and see an updated package. You can also, I know that there are times where there might be a delay in getting that, and we will let you know when that time is happening. But you can generally refresh it and see it. But if there's a lag in that, generally as we get closer to the school year starting, when everyone's getting their paperwork in, but you can always update it there, and you're more than welcome to connect with us and go, hey, do you have that award? And we'll say, we got it. It's just not showing up yet. It will. And so this question also kind of alluded to, for our international families out there, maybe you're a U.S. citizen serving internationally with a missions agency. We have the International Missionary Dependent Award for those who do not serve with Word of Life. So maybe you serve with another missions agency. We have an exclusive scholarship. Now we have a set number per campus that we award, but that is a 50% off tuition award
that Gabby here in New York, Kinga in Florida, they are fully familiar with this. And so if you get your agency endorsed letter confirming how long you have served with your agency, you would qualify for that 50% off tuition discount. Again, so that is for those who maybe serve with a missions agency internationally, but not with Word of Life.
Yeah, that's really good. So I hope you've gotten at least a taste for it. Again, we didn't cover everything, which is kind of crazy. We've been talking for an hour, and we still haven't done everything we could have said, right? And so there's a lot to know. I hope you walk away feeling confident that our team knows what we're doing, and we're here to serve you and help you. What I'd love to do, parents, is just pray for you. I know, as we've talked before, the college search, the college decision, it's hard. And on top of that, you add the stress of money, that makes that exponentially increases the stress. So I just love to pray for you as parents and encourage your hearts. And as we wrap up today, after we pray, we're going to be done. But thank you so much for joining us. Let me pray and we'll be done. Lord, thank you so much for these parents, and just that any parent that ends up watching this, whether they've watched live, whether they're watching recording, I thank you for them. And I pray as they are working through the financial decisions, I hope that this has been helpful, even maybe if they're not coming to Word of Life, some of the federal aid, some of those things, I hope it was helpful. But I pray for them, if they're considering Word of Life, that they would really connect with us and not let finances be a reason to not come. That they would work with us, connect with us. I pray that if this is where you want their student to be, God, that you would open up the doors, show how you're going to provide. Lord, that you are capable of more than we can ask or imagine. And I feel like that's the story of Word of Life. Just at Word of Life, we try to do things, we pray about it, and you bless and open the doors, and miraculous things happen. And I pray for these students as they're considering if this is the place you want them to be. I pray that you would just show up in a mighty way, God, through these scholarships, through federal aid, through friends, through family, through anything to show them that this is possible. Because I know the best thing for any believer is to know you. And that's what we want to do here at Word of Life. We want their student to become passionate about you and who you are and what you have for them, God. And we love you. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Parents, thank you for joining us. Alex, thank you for joining us. And we will catch you again on the next Parent Connect live stream. God bless.